Hey guys, welcome back to Rusty Guns. So today we are going to be removing the trigger assembly out of your AR-15. Now this is basically for a standard mil-spec trigger system and hammer and everything. If you're going to be putting anything other than that back in, number one, some of them come with their own hammer and everything, so that's fine. If it doesn't, make sure that it will work with your mil-spec hammer that you have in it. Some of them have instructions of things that you may or may not have to do to install it, so make sure you pay attention to that. But for putting in the standard mil-spec trigger and everything, just follow this along and you should be perfectly fine. Basically we're going to be removing today the grip, the safety selector, and the hammer, and then we'll be pulling out the trigger. But we need to remove those pieces first before we pull out the trigger. So on mine, I have down in here a Allen wrench screw or bolt, whatever you want to call it. It takes a 3/16 Allen wrench to remove that. I don't know if yours will take that or not, but that's what mine takes. And when you pull that out, you can go ahead and leave that screw in there. Inside the grip, I mean. You don't have to pull it out of the grip. Sometimes it takes forever to unscrew the thing for some reason. And sometimes it will come out with the little spring right here. If it does, you can leave the spring inside the grip also. If not, that little spring will come out of this tiny hole right here. And that is where the safety detent is located. Sometimes you can tap this and the detent will fall out. If it does not, simply take your safety selector now, put it on the safe position, just give it a wiggle. The safety selector will come out, and then there is a tiny hole just on the inside of this. Take that little spring that came out of your grip and just give it a little push down in there, and then tap, and your detent should fall out. Go ahead and put that spring back in your grip so you don't lose it. There's a little safety detent. Set that down. So now we've removed the safety selector. Next thing we're going to do is remove the hammer. So go ahead and release the hammer. Keep your finger on it. Let it come up. And we're going to drive this pin out, located right here. Let that zoom in. Look, drive out that pin right there. Now some of these other pieces, removing the safety selector and the hammer, I've done in past videos. I'm just doing all of it on this one video right here. Now when you pull these out, they will be grooved. Like two special little grooves in it. Make sure the way it comes out is the way it goes back in. Go ahead and remove the punch and release the hammer. So now you're left with that, and that's what it should look like. So now only the trigger is left. To remove that, we're going to remove that pin right there. We're going to drive that pin out. Same thing with that one. It has two small grooves. Put it back in the way it came out. Now, this piece right here, if you're not holding your finger on it when you pull this out, this will tend to fly up. So just hold your finger over it. Pull that out. And then this will come out. Then you can go ahead and just push up from the bottom and pull your trigger out. Basically this sits on there like that. And then that is it. Everything's out. Pretty quick to remove it. To reinstall it, I'll show you a quick trick that I use to do this. I'm going to set this back in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to line these holes up as I do this. And I use the punch and I kind of work that punch back all the way through. Here's the reason for it. Take the pin, and now as I pull this pin back, make sure that I have it going the right way. I want to get that pin started by pushing that in. And now we'll just tap the pin back in. You can check, and you might have to move this just a tiny bit to make sure that that pin's going to line up with the hole. Give it its final tap all the way through. Just like that. So use your punch as a way to hold everything together as you're doing this. So next we're going to put back in the hammer. We're going to drop the hammer. Put those springs right there like that. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to line up the holes. And we're going to use that punch to line everything up. Okay, so once you get that lined up, you give it the final little tap. The hammer's in. Now we're going to replace the safety selector. To do that, make sure that you put the hammer down, lock down. Replace the safety selector. Keep it in the safe position when you're doing this. Makes putting the detent back in easier. Put the detent in like so. It won't go all the way down, so grab that little spring and give her a little push. I'm just going to push it in just a tiny bit. It's not going to go all the way, so don't try and force it all the way in there. And then we're just going to flip it over. Make sure you line up the spring with the small hole. Slide that back in place. Lock down our grip screw. Get our grip screw locked down, and then we're going to do a function check. So make sure it is on safe. Flip it to fire. And make sure it releases the hammer. All good. And that's it. It is that simple and that easy to do, guys. Not difficult at all. So, you know, don't think that that's something that, oh, I don't know about replacing my trigger on my AR. That's going to be hard. It's not hard at all. Very simple, very easy to do. Thanks a lot for joining me, guys. Take care. Remember, pray hard and shoot straight.